Hello everyone, Bart here, and welcome to some more of Sulli-Ween. We all know about the Simpsons and their Halloween episodes. Mostly known as Treehouse of Horror, these episodes always came out every year, either mid to late October or early November. They all have parodies of classic horror movies, books, and TV shows, as well as fantasy and sci-fi, and on occasion something original. But whether you like them or not, they have become one of the many things to watch every Halloween, even when there's still more coming in. And with the show's 27th Halloween episode as their 600th episode, it's only fitting to bring forth my favorites out of all they've done. But rather than go over my favorite episodes, I decided to go over my favorite segments. And it will be a top 10 list of them. So, get ready for a list of my top 10 Simpsons Treehouse of Horror segments. Number 10. Oh, the Places You'll Go. Anyone who's a fan of Dr. Seuss would love this one. Though it does parody the style and tone of the Dr. Seuss TV specials, as well as the books, it's all done in rhyme and is quite twisted in some respects. Bart, Lisa, and Maggie play as Seuss-like kids who stay at home on Halloween due to an illness they have, while their headless Marge goes out to a party. But then Homer, as the Fattened Hat, takes the kids outside to have a fun night, but ends up killing folks who cross him or the kids, making the children feel very scared of his actions. The look and feel of Dr. Seuss is all over the segment, from the songs to the designs and the clever rhymes. Even Homer's last line gets a laugh from me. Everything about Seuss is all over the place, and it's a nice take on it. And as a fan of Dr. Seuss, it's a fun little segment that's kind of out there. Number 9. I've grown a costume on your face. What's more fun than seeing your favorite characters dressed in their costumes? How about seeing your favorite characters as their costumes? And that's what this segment does. One Halloween night, the citizens of Springfield are dressed for the season and for a costume contest. One of them, as a witch, wins the contest, only to reveal that she's a real witch. So when Mayor Quimby takes her prize, the witch casts a spell on the people, turning them into their costumes. And the rest of the segment shows the folks dealing with the spell, while Lisa figures out how to break it. Though the plot's taken from an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's still a fun idea to work with. All the jokes centered around the characters as their costumes are done well and are even funny. Even to a point where some of them don't want to be normal again. Yet, by the end of it all, it still works even if I don't find the ending funny. But everything else is creative and fun. It's a segment that's just as good as the costumes the characters wear or become. Number 8. The Raven. As much as The Simpsons parody whatever they want for their Halloween episodes, there are rare times when they do just the source, but have fun with it too. And The Raven is certainly that. It's basically an abridged version of Edgar Allan Poe's classic poem of Homer, playing a man, having fears of an unknown presence after the loss of his wife. But when Bart as the Raven comes in and only says nevermore, it makes Homer mad and chases after it. So yeah, the scenes of Homer chasing Raven Bart isn't in the actual poem, but the artistic atmosphere behind it all is wonderful. The angles, the visuals, the colors, it's all one impressive feat. And with James Earl Jones narrating, it's quite a nice addition to bring the poem to life through animation. With great interpretations of the narration and an amazing look, The Raven is a visual wonder to behold and admire. Number 7. The Terror of Tiny Toons. No, it's not a look at the scary things of Tiny Toons' adventures, it's a look at the idea of being part of a cartoon show, which is a creative idea. Marge removes the batteries from the TV remote to prevent Bart and Lisa from watching a Halloween cartoon of Itchy and Scratchy, but Bart finds a piece of plutonium in Homer's toolbox and uses it on the remote, which not only works, but it brings the kids into the cartoon. Of course the kids laugh at Itchy and Scratchy, but the cat and mouse find it mean to laugh at their mistreatment, and end up teaching Bart and Lisa a lesson, by killing them instead. A pretty ironic concept to say the least, but what makes it work is the idea, which has been done before. But since it's animated, it works pretty well. There's even live-action cameos of Regis Philbin and Kathie Lee Gifford, which is fun to watch for seeing animated characters in live action. With a nice variety of cartoon logic, in a segment that has its own cartoon logic, this one has the fun idea put to another level, and in many respects, has fun with it. Number 6. Homer 3, or Homer to the Third. While the title is a take on Alien 3, the actual segment is really not a parody of that film. It's one of the most groundbreaking segments that the show offers for one thing, introducing hand-drawn characters as CGI creations. Based on the Twilight Zone episode Little Girl Lost, Homer tries to find a place to hide as Patty and Selma are arriving at the house, and goes behind a cupboard and discovers a third-dimensional world filled with numbers, grids, shapes, and other CG images. Feeling trapped, Homer calls out to his family for help, and the family brings out friends and neighbors to help out. When Professor Frank figures out where Homer is, the third dimension disappears in a black hole that Homer inadvertently caused. This is the earliest of CGI creations from PDI that would later become DreamWorks Animation, and their take on both Homer and Bart are amazing. Sure, it ends on a semi-happy ending with CG Homer in the real world, but the blending of the two was quite perfect. The CG is amazing, the humor is pretty fun, and the whole segment is cool and impressive. If seeing your favorite 2D characters in 3D is awesome, then this is one of the best. Number 5. Send in the clones. Of course, the idea of cloning has been done before and still continues on, but how it's done is what makes it stand out. And with this one, the story itself is full of great Homer jokes, both verbal and visual. After breaking his hammock, Homer buys a new one, and once getting on it, it makes a clone of himself, but more dumber and with no belly button. So he takes advantage of his new hammock by cloning himself more and sending them to do his chores and spend time with Marge, Grandpa, and the kids. But things go awry when one of the clones kills Flanders, and the real Homer abandons the clones and hammock, to which the clones use to cause havoc in Springfield. Just the idea of seeing clones of Homer is very funny, with the many jokes around his stupidity, anger, and hunger. And all of them get a laugh every time I watch it. There's even funny visuals of the Homer clones causing havoc and getting beer, as well as the small cameos of different clones. With a concept that still has possibilities of having tons of jokes, this one has all the right ways of presenting them, with a great character. Number 4. Bart Simpson's Dracula. While I haven't seen the Francis Ford Coppola movie that the segment parodies, Bram Stoker's Dracula, I have to say that this is a fun and even funny take on it, and it shows. After the news of a black cape being found on the death of someone, and Mr. Burns' deal of buying the Springfield Blood Bank, the Simpsons are invited to his mansion, unaware to the family, except for Lisa, that Mr. Burns is a vampire. And when Bart and Lisa come across his lair, Mr. Burns catches Bart and turns him into a vampire, which has the family go out to kill Mr. Burns. As crazy as the show has gotten early on in Season 5, by way of the characters looking off-model and given wall-eyed looks, it really fits something as crazy as a Halloween episode. And this segment is full of silly moment after silly moment, and each one is just as funny. There's lots of funny lines, crazy visuals, and a fun ending with a Charlie Brown Christmas knockoff. And as silly as the show goes, this is the segment that captures it in a very fun manner. Number 3. The Shining. As a parody of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, this one is a pretty funny take on it, and even has more sense to it than its source. The Simpson family goes to Mr. Burns' lodge to be the new caretakers, and Bart has what Lily calls the Shining, and tells him to use it whenever Homer goes mad. Well, after Mr. Burns removes cable and beer from the lodge in order to get the family to work, Homer ends up going crazy and tries to kill his family for what has happened. I never found the Kubrick film to be scary. It was so out there that there's nothing to grab me. However, The Simpsons' take on it has more to do with going insane due to no resources than just a haunted hotel. And the lengths it goes does it very well. The comedy is really funny, the details of what it parodies is spot on, the dialogue is pretty memorable, and its dark atmosphere fits it well. For those that like the movie or not, this is one segment that's as funny as The Simpsons can be, and a funny start to my favorite Halloween episode. Number 2. Time and Punishment. Yeah, it's the second segment of the 5th Treehouse of Horror, but this is the funniest of the 3 segments, and one of the things I love about this episode. Homer gets his hand stuck in the toaster and ends up fixing it, but he turns it into a time machine and went to the time of dinosaurs. But he remembers what Grandpa says, that if Homer travels back in time, he shouldn't kill anything, or else the future will change for the worse. And the rest has Homer killing every little thing, either accidentally or on purpose, and the future becomes worse and worse for his liking. What can you say about this segment? The jokes of time travel and the future are just perfectly funny, such as Flanders being the lord and master of the world, and a perfect family life without donuts. Filled with lots of funny moments and cameos of Peabody and Sherman, this segment is an experience that's worth all the time. And my number one Simpsons Treehouse of Horror segment is... it's the Grand Pumpkin Millhouse. Much like what I said in the last video, that if I did a top 10 list of Halloween specials, It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown would be number 1. Now, here's the Simpsons parody of that special, and it's one of the show's best parodies in my opinion. Milhouse believes in the Grand Pumpkin, despite Bart saying he made it up, and stays at a pumpkin patch where Lisa accompanies him, but leaves after seeing the other kids have a Halloween party at school. Milhouse then becomes sad, and after shedding a tear, he brings forth the Grand Pumpkin, and wants to share a pumpkin pie with him. But upon realizing that the pie is made of pumpkins, the Grand Pumpkin goes on a rampage, eating anyone who kills his kind. Everything about the Peanut special is really everywhere, from the style, to the dialogue, and even the music, which is the same tune. And there's even another small nod to A Charlie Brown Christmas, which gets me every time. It's the segment that not only parodies the Halloween classic, but also pays homage to. It's all fun, all enjoyable, and an all-around great segment. And as much as I love the Peanut special, I even love this one. And this perfect send-up is what I consider my number 1 Simpsons Treehouse of Horror segment. And that is it. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter. And tune in next week for the conclusion of Sulli-Ween.